I'm going to talk about MRI in carotid plaque evaluation. So I'll be discussing briefly about the new paradigm of carotid plaque evaluation using MRI. We will talk about the different features of carotid plaque, which will help us to prognosticate the patient or guide us towards the management. We'll talk a bit about strength and limitations of the MRI and the prognostic role of the MRI sequentially. So briefly, we all know that atherosclerosis in the carotid artery is responsible for 10 to 15% of the ischemic strokes. And what is important to realize is that 50%, more than 50% of the patients may have a moderate asymptomatic carotid stenosis. Similarly, you may have patients having a significant severe stenosis beyond 70%, but they're still asymptomatic. Also, some patients having mild stenosis or a moderate stenosis, but they are symptomatic. So the main dilemma is whom should we treat? So we have had some classic trials. We had NASCET, ECST, and ECAS trials, which were done in 1980s and late 1990, which quantified the benefit of carotid stenting or endarterectomy based on the degree of luminal stenosis. But only recently, the studies which have allowed us to do the plaque evaluation have shown that it is the plaque structure and composition that represent a more direct biomarker for evaluation of the risk of stroke rather than the degree of stenosis, which has been traditionally the way to go for taking the patient for intervention. So the fundamental goal now is to determine the stroke risk in a patient who has carotid plaque, and based on that, decide upon the appropriate management, whether he goes for a medical treatment, statin therapy, or he goes for a carotid stenting or a carotid endarterectomy. And also the role of there is also a role of imaging in prognostication and follow-up of these patients. So it's time, just like we have been talking about the coronary stenosis, it's time we started again in the carotid artery also to start looking beyond the luminal stenosis. So it's important that we identify the high risk features in the carotid plaque, which are going to lead the ischemic symptoms, which is much beyond the percentage of the stenosis. So we know these ischemic events are caused by the rupture of the plaque. So it is the plaque which needs to be evaluated. So it's important that we identify a vulnerable plaque. So just like we have in the coronary artery, similarly in the carotid also, the vulnerable plaque is the one which has got a thin fibrous cap, has got a large necrotic core, has got lipid, has got microcalcification, has got evidence of neovascularity, positive remodeling, and intraplaque hemorrhage. So these are the features which tell us this is a plaque which is vulnerable, and these are the patients who also will have a high risk of periprocedural stroke when we are attempting a carotid artery stenting. So why use MRI in these patients? So CT has already been discussed by Dr. Karthik for the coronary. Similarly, for the carotid also we can. So what is it that MR allows you? So MR has an inherent feature of its inherent soft tissue contrast. So even without giving contrast, unlike CT, you can differentiate fat, calcification, fibrous tissue. And obviously this is a modality which is non-invasive, which also does not have any radiation exposure to the patient. So it will allow you non-invasive quantification of the luminal stenosis. It will help you characterize the plaque morphology, whether it is necrotic, fatty, fibrous, will help you, see multiple plaque components and quantify them also. Now it is possible to even quantify them also. And we can also identify ongoing inflammation in the plaque, which again is a risk factor. Also, because this is a non-invasive modality, not involving radiation, you may do a serial monitoring while the patient is on, say, a lipid therapy. So you can look for any risk factors and identify them. So we have this protocol. I'm not going to go into too much of detail. So we have certain sequences which tell us about the type of plaque. Then we have certain sequences, the angiography sequences. There is a time of flight sequence. These are all done without contrast. So this sequence till this sequence are done without contrast. So they allow you to quantify the stenosis also. And then we have contrast enhanced sequences. So you have angiography using gadolinium contrast and delayed sequences. They can be done. So they are the ones which will again quantify the stenosis and also talk a bit about the enhancement of the plaque. Then there are certain advanced techniques which I will be discussing. So briefly, what we do on MRI is we look at the morphology of the plaque, try to find out the composition of the plaque, most importantly, identify the presence of the lipid-rich necrotic core, look for any signs of intraplaque hemorrhage, try to see the fibrous cap, whether it is thick or thinned out or ruptured, look for any signs of inflammation in the form of neovascularity. So about the plaque morphology, the most important feature to look for is to look at the plaque, which is usually present in the carotid bifurcation, to look for the positive remodeling, which obviously has been shown to have a high risk of MACE. So this is a patient. So in positive remodeling, you will see the diameter of the lumen remains the same. However, it is a plaque which is seen circumferentially. The overall diameter of the vessel is increased. So this is something you will not see on an angiogram, be it MR angio or a catheter angiogram. This is something you can see only on cross section. So this is positive remodeling, again a risk with a high risk of high risk of MACE. So the second thing we look for is the plaque surface morphology, same as what we see in coronary artery. Again, if you have an ulcerated plaque, there are increased chances of a cerebrovascular accident. So again, you will have a contrast which is going into the niche of the, so you have a niche here in the plaque. So there is a contrast in the plaque. So you can see a crater or a niche-like contrast outside the normal lumen into the plaque. Again, that's a, so and what we have found is that contrast enhanced MR angiography is superior to time of flight non-contrast MR angiography for visualization of this ulcerated surface. The next important thing is the plaque composition. I told you we have many sequences which help us, identify these the tissue characterization of the plaque. So this is all without giving contrast. So we have certain sequences wherein the blood looks bright or dark. We have certain sequences in which lipid looks bright. For example, so you can see this is the lumen and this entire is the plaque. So this is a lipid plaque, and you can see this bright signal on T2 weighted sequences. And on the PDI sequences, we see it as there is a drop in the signal, so suggesting that this is a fat. And so you can characterize the different types of plaques using different sequences. Calcification are not seen on MRI. This is one of the disadvantages. So microcalcifications may not be seen on MRI, and they are seen as dark intensity areas in the plaque. So this is a paper which was published in Circulation 2002, and it actually classified the carotid plaque according to and compared it with the AHA classification of the plaques. So we found a good agreement between the two classifications. And if we talk about sensitivity and the specificity, the sensitivity was in the range of late 60s to 90s, while the specificity was in high 90s or even 100%, depending on the type of plaque. So the important thing to look for in a plaque is the presence of lipid-rich necrotic core, be it carotid or coronary. This is one thing which, when present, means this plaque is likely to have a high risk of rupture. So any large lipid-rich necrotic core with a thin overlying fibrous cap is prone to rupture. And we have sequences which can show this up. So you have this a corresponding histopathology slide. This is the lumen which is seen, and you can see similar images here. So what you can see is there is a high signal intensity on the T2 weighted sequences on the PDWI sequences, similar to what's so suggestive of fat in this plaque. And this is one which is corresponding with the histopathological images also. The other important feature now, which this is something which is very important now, this is a feature which has got the strongest, this is the strongest feature which is associated with the occurrence of stroke, and that is the presence of intraplaque hemorrhage. So it leads to destabilization of the plaque and leads to its rapid progression. So what we see that is a bright signal on the T1 weighted sequences. So that's a lumen, that's the plaque, and that's a bright signal suggestive of intraplaque hemorrhage. And we now have a newer sequence called MP-RATE sequence, which has even a better ability to show this plaques. And this is a study which has been published this year itself. This is a Rotterdam study which included 1,300 patients. followed up for 5 years, and it was found that intra-plaque hemorrhage was independently associated with a high risk of incident stroke and CHD. And what it found was the lipid-rich necrotic core and calcification were not associated with, significantly associated with stroke or CHD. The next thing to look for is the fibrous cap, which again determines the vulnerability of the plaque. So this is the fibrous cap. We all know the normal one has to be, is usually less than 65 micron in diameter. So this is a limitation of the MRI. MRI does not have a high spatial resolution like we have for IVUS or for OCT or for CT for that matter. So it's not very well seen, but however, the newer foils which we are using make it possible to look at the fibrous cap. So if a ruptured fibrous cap, this is seen as a dark area, so ruptured fibrous cap, if it is present or if it is thin, is suggestive of a vulnerable plaque. Intraplaque hemorrhage again, so this is a meta-analysis of 6 studies. They found that the intraplaque hemorrhage has a 7 times, so the hazard ratio is 7.14 for intraplaque hemorrhage versus 5.7 for thin fibrous cap or a lipid-rich necrotic core. So so the intraplaque hemorrhage is the strongest predictor of the stroke. Again, the next thing we can look at is the plaque neovascularization. So what we do is we give the contrast, and on delayed enhancement, if you see this bright signal, this is suggestive of a neovascularization, suggestive of an inflamed plaque. So these are all features of inflammation, suggesting a plaque which may rupture soon. So when to ask for MRI for carotid plaque evaluation? If on ultrasound it is found that patient has a equolucent plaque, or it may be considered as a first step in a patient who is symptomatic, high risk, having high risk of atherosclerosis. In those patients, you may ask for MRI. Very briefly about what is new, we have ultra small paramagnetic iron oxide particles which are given, and their signal is looked at. So it picks up the inflammation. So inflamed area will retain these particles after 24 hours. So this is what we can do. It is also possible to do intravascular MRI just like IVUS, and the hybrid PET and MRI. So inflammation as well as the morphology can be picked up. So there are multiple studies which have looked at follow-up of these patients on MRI after lipid lowering therapy, and clearly they have found reduction in the plaque volumes. So this is Rotterdam study, 1700 plus patient, and again statin therapy was associated with lower presence of lipid core, and it does not actually, it not only shifts, reduces the volume, but most importantly, it shifts the composition of the vulnerable from a lipid core to a more stable calcified core. Again, this is a meta-analysis. Again, what they found was there was a significant decrease in the, lipid-rich necrotic core once the patient was put on statin. Even after alirocumab treatment, there has been found to be reduction in the lipid areas as much as 17% after just 6 months of treatment. So to end, we have already talked about the role of MRI in its prognostication. It is important that we also have a look at the plaque structure and composition besides looking at the stenosis to pick up the vulnerable plaque. And most importantly, MRI can be used for follow-up of these patients when the patient has been given on has been put on a statin therapy. I would like to end here. Thank you.